Have you ever woken up one morning, looked in the mirror, and felt like something was missing? Not just the energy you used to have, or the confidence that carried you through your younger years, but something deeper, a spark that once lit up your heart, your bedroom, your life. Maybe you've wondered if that spark is gone for good, especially after 50, when the world seems to tell you that passion and intimacy are things of the past, and maybe, in those quiet moments, you've turned to habits like masturbation, thinking they're a harmless escape, only to feel a nagging sense that they're pulling you further from the connection you truly crave. What if those habits are silently reshaping not just your body, but your brain, your marriage, your entire sense of ourself today? I'm going to share a truth that might surprise you, a truth backed by science, grounded in real stories, and filled with hope. It's not what you've been led to believe, and it could change the way you see yourself and your relationships forever. Stick with me, because you won't want to miss this. I'm Dr. Hannah Cole, an 85-year-old physician who spent nearly 50 years helping men and women rediscover their vitality and rebuild the connections that matter most. Over the decades, I've treated thousands of patients, men like you, who've faced the same doubts, fears, and questions about their bodies and their intimate lives. I've walked beside them through moments of uncertainty, and I've seen the incredible transformations that happen when they take small, intentional steps toward healing. Today, I'm here to talk about something deeply personal, something that's often whispered about but rarely discussed openly: masturbation after 50. Is it helping you, or is it holding you back? I've seen this question weigh heavily on so many men, and I'm going to share the science, the stories, and the practical solutions to help you find clarity and confidence. Let me tell you about Mark, a 58-year-old retired firefighter from Ohio. Mark was the kind of man you'd picture as unbreakable broad shoulders, quick to smile, the guy who ran into burning buildings without a second thought. For 30 years, he was the hero of his small town, and at home, he was the rock for his wife, Linda. But when retirement came, things changed. The structure of his days vanished, replaced by financial worries and a body that didn't feel as strong as it once did. Mark started gaining weight, and the stress of it all began to creep into his marriage. He and Linda drifted apart not because they didn't love each other, but because life felt heavier than it used to, late at night, when sleep wouldn't come. Mark found himself turning to his phone, scrolling through adult websites, seeking a quick escape. Masturbation became his way to cope, a momentary release from the pressure. But afterward, he felt worse, guilty, anxious, and increasingly distant from Linda. He started to wonder if he was less of a man, if the spark they once shared was gone forever. Mark thought he was broken, that this was just what aging looked like. But what he discovered changed everything, not just for him, but for his marriage. You might see a bit of yourself in Mark's story. Maybe you felt that same quiet worry, wondering if the passion and connection you once knew are out of reach now that you're over 50. Maybe you've turned to habits that feel private but leave you feeling empty. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and you're not broken. Today, I'm going to walk you through the surprising truth about masturbation after 50, how it affects your body, your brain, and your relationships. We'll uncover why so many men feel trapped in a cycle of loneliness and disconnection. And most importantly, we'll explore gentle, practical steps to restore your vitality and rebuild the intimacy you deserve. This isn't about quick fixes or unrealistic promises. It's about understanding yourself, your body, and the path to feeling alive again. Here's what you'll take away from this video. First, we'll dive into the science of how masturbation, especially when paired with pornography, reshapes your brain in ways you might not expect. Second, we'll talk about why so many American men over 50 feel isolated in their struggles, and why it's so hard to break the silence. And third, I'll share simple, accessible steps, things you can start today to reset your body, rewire your mind, and reconnect with the people you love. Have you ever felt like Mark, wondering if the spark is gone for good, or maybe you're watching for someone you care about, hoping to understand what they're going through? Either way, stick with me, and let's find the answers together. I promise you, the truth is more hopeful than you might think. Before we dive into the science, let's start by understanding why so many men over 50 feel alone in their struggles. It's not just about aging, it's about a world that doesn't always make it easy to talk about what's really going on. Let's explore that together. What happens when the man who once felt invincible starts to feel invisible, especially in the bedroom? For so many men over 50, this is a quiet reality, one that creeps in slowly, often without warning. You might have spent decades building a life raising kids, climbing the career ladder, being the strong one for everyone around you. But now, as the years add up, you might notice changes in your body, your energy, even your sense of self. And when it comes to intimacy, those changes can feel like a wall between you and the connection you used to take for granted. I'm here to tell you that you're not alone in this, and there's a way through it. Let's talk about why so many American men over 50 are facing this sense of sexual loneliness, and why it's so hard to break the silence. As we cross the threshold of 50, our bodies start to shift in ways that can catch us off guard. Testosterone, the hormone that fuels energy, confidence, and drive, begins to decline by about 1 to 2% each year. That might not sound like much, but over time, it can dampen your libido and make it harder to maintain the physical vitality you once had. Blood flow, which is so critical for strong erections, can slow down as arteries stiffen and pelvic muscles weaken. These are natural parts of aging, but they can hit hard, especially when life throws in extra challenges. Retirement, for example, can strip away the structure and purpose that defined your days. Financial pressures, health concerns, or the emotional weight of a divorce can pile on, leaving you feeling stressed or even a little lost. For many men, these changes don't just affect the body, they start to chip away at confidence, sparking anxiety or a quiet sense of sadness that's hard to name. I think of men like Mark, the retired firefighter I mentioned earlier. For years, Mark was the guy everyone counted on strong, dependable, the one who never flinched in a crisis. But after he hung up his gear, he found himself grappling with a new kind of pressure. Bills were tighter, his body wasn't as responsive, and the connection with his wife, Linda, started to feel distant. Mark didn't know how to talk about it, and the more he pulled away, the more isolated he felt. That's what happens when society celebrates independence above all else. We're taught to tough it out, to handle things on our own. But when it comes to intimacy, that rugged individualism can leave us unprepared. We're not taught how to shift from focusing on physical performance, those moments of youthful stamina, to nurturing emotional connection, the kind that makes intimacy truly meaningful as we age. And without that guidance, men often feel like they're navigating in the dark. This brings us to a silence that weighs heavily on so many men, the reluctance to talk about sexual health. A 2018 survey from AARP found that 63% of men over 50 avoid discussing intimacy issues with their doctors, often because of embarrassment or fear of being judged. Think about that nearly 2 out of 3 men are carrying these concerns alone, unsure where to turn. In American culture, we don't make it easy. Aging is often painted as a loss of strength, especially for men, and sex becomes this taboo topic, something you're supposed to figure out on your own. But when you're facing changes like erectile dysfunction or a fading libido, that silence can feel suffocating. It's not just about the physical, it's about the fear that these changes mean you're somehow less of a man, less worthy of love or desire. Let me tell you about John, a 62-year-old divorced teacher from Texas. John was the kind of guy who always had a story to share, a warm laugh that put his students at ease. But after his divorce, he started noticing changes in his body. Erections weren't as reliable, and he felt a pang of shame every time it happened. He didn't want to admit it, not even to his doctor, because he worried it would confirm his worst fear that he was past his prime, no longer the man he used to be. So, John kept it to himself, carrying that weight in silence. He didn't know that what he was experiencing was common, that millions of men face these same challenges as they age. And without a roadmap, he felt stuck, like he was supposed to just accept it and move on. For men like John, and maybe for you, that sense of isolation can lead to a tempting escape pornography and masturbation. Now, don't get me wrong, masturbation can be a healthy release, a natural part of life at any age. It's a way to connect with your body, relieve stress, and feel a moment of pleasure. But when it's paired with pornography, it can become something else entirely, a quick fix that promises relief but often leaves you feeling emptier. Here's why. When you watch porn, your brain gets a rush of dopamine, that feel-good chemical that lights up your reward system. It's like a sugar high for your mind, instant and intense. Over time, your brain starts to crave that rush, creating a loop where real intimacy with its messiness, its vulnerability, starts to feel less satisfying. You might find yourself spending hours online, chasing a thrill that never quite fills the void. And the more you rely on it, the harder it becomes to connect with a partner, to feel present in those moments that used to bring you closer. John, our teacher from Texas, fell into this trap without even realizing it. After his divorce, he turned to adult websites to fill the loneliness. At first, it felt like a harmless way to unwind, but soon he was spending hours late at night, clicking from one video to the next. Each time, the relief was fleeting, and the emptiness came rushing back, stronger than before. He started to feel disconnected, not just from others, but from himself. It wasn't about pleasure anymore. It was about numbing the pain of feeling alone. And that's the thing about this cycle. It promises comfort, but it builds a wall between you and the connection you're really longing for. Have you ever felt hesitant to talk about intimacy, even with someone you trust? Maybe it's a partner, a friend, or even your doctor. If that resonates, you're not alone. So many men carry these struggles in silence, unsure where to turn, or afraid of what the answers might mean. But here's the truth: you don't have to stay stuck. These feelings, these challenges, they're not a sign that you're broken. They're a sign that you're human, navigating a stage of life that doesn't come with a manual. And the good news is, there are ways to move forward, to reclaim your confidence and rebuild the connections that matter most. Now that we understand the emotional weight of this loneliness, let's dive into the science of how habits like masturbation and pornography can rewire your brain, and what that means for your body and your relationships. Imagine turning to something for a quick moment of relief, a way to unwind after a long day, only to find that it's quietly changing the way you feel about love, connection, and even your partner. It's a subtle shift, one you might not notice at first, but over time, it can make the warmth of a real embrace feel less satisfying, less alive. That's what can happen when habits like frequent pornography use and masturbation take hold. They don't just affect your body, they reshape your brain in ways that can pull you further from the intimacy you're longing for. As a doctor who's spent decades helping men navigate these changes, I've seen how these habits can create a hidden barrier, one that science is only now beginning to fully understand. Let's dive into the fascinating, and sometimes surprising, way your brain responds to these patterns, and why it matters for your life after 50. Your brain is an incredible organ, always adapting, always learning. It's designed to seek out rewards, things that make you feel good, like a warm meal, a kind word, or a moment of pleasure. When you watch pornography, it's like giving your brain a supercharged version of that reward. Scientists, like Dr. Norman Doidge in his book, The Brain That Changes Itself, call this a supernormal stimulus. Think of it like candy for your mind, bright, intense, and instantly gratifying in a way that real life rarely is. Unlike the slow, unpredictable beauty of intimacy with a partner, pornography offers a predictable rush, tailored to hit all the right buttons with exaggerated images and scenarios. It's designed to grab your attention and keep you coming back. Over time, your brain starts to prefer this intense, artificial stimulation over the softer, more nuanced moments of real connection, like the touch of your partner's hand or the sound of their laugh. It's not that those moments aren't enough. It's that your brain has been trained to chase something louder, faster, and less human. Let me tell you about David, a 55-year-old accountant from Chicago. David was a planner, the kind of guy who always had a spreadsheet for everything: his budget, his taxes, even his golf scores. He prided himself on being steady, reliable, the one his wife, Karen, could always count on. But a few years ago, David started feeling restless. Work was stressful, and the demands of middle age, caring for aging parents, worrying about retirement were weighing on him. Late at night, when Karen was asleep, he'd turn to his laptop, scrolling through adult websites to unwind. At first, it felt like a harmless escape, a way to relax without bothering anyone. But over time, David noticed something troubling. He could only get aroused by very specific scenes he found online, scenes that were nothing like the real, tender moments he used to share with Karen. When they were together, he struggled to feel that spark, and it left him confused and ashamed. He loved his wife, but his brain seemed to be wired for something else entirely. This is where the science comes in, and it's pretty eye-opening. Your brain has a reward system, driven by a chemical called dopamine. Every time you experience something pleasurable like eating your favorite dessert, or, yes, watching pornography, your brain releases dopamine, creating a little burst of joy. That burst strengthens the neural pathways tied to that behavior, making it easier for your brain to say, "Hey, let's do that again." It's how habits form, whether it's drinking coffee every morning or checking your phone before bed. When you frequently masturbate to pornography, those neural pathways get deeper, like a groove worn into a well-traveled path. The more you travel that path, the more your brain starts to rely on it, expecting that same intense rush every time. The problem is, real-life intimacy doesn't work like that. It's messy, unpredictable, and beautifully human, full of subtle cues like a partner's smile or the warmth of their skin. Over time, those softer signals can start to feel less exciting, because your brain has been conditioned to crave the loud, artificial intensity of porn. A 2014 study from Cambridge University sheds light on just how powerful this rewiring can be. Researchers found that men who regularly used pornography showed changes in their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that helps you make decisions and control impulses. It's like the brain's brakes get a little weaker, making it harder to step away from those late-night scrolling sessions. For someone like David, this meant his brain was starting to prioritize the instant gratification of porn over the slower, more meaningful connection he had with Karen. He wasn't choosing to feel distant, it was his brain, quietly reshaping itself with every click. And the more he relied on those habits, the harder it became to feel present in the moments that used to light up his life. This isn't about judgment or shame. It's about understanding how your brain works and why it can make intimacy feel less exciting than it once did. For so many men over 50, these habits start as a way to cope with stress, loneliness, or the pressures of aging, but they can end up creating a divide between you and the connection you're really seeking. David's story is a reminder that this isn't about being broken. It's about a brain that's doing what it's designed to do, chasing rewards. But the good news is, your brain is adaptable. It can be rewired for connection, for presence, for the kind of intimacy that feels real and lasting. You just need to know how to guide it. Have you ever noticed that intimacy doesn't feel as exciting as it used to? Maybe you've wondered why those quiet moments with your partner don't spark the same fire they once did. That's your brain talking, and it's trying to tell you something. You're not alone in this, and there's a way to shift things back toward what matters most. This rewiring creates a gap between the fantasy of pornography and the reality of human connection. Let's explore what that gap does to your body and your relationships, and how it can affect the way you experience intimacy. Why does a quick scroll through adult sites feel so different from a night spent with your partner? It's a question that hits home for many men over 50, and the answer lies in something called the stimulus gap. This gap is like an invisible divide between the intense, controlled world of pornography and the messy, beautiful reality of human connection. As a doctor who spent nearly half a century helping men navigate these challenges, I've seen how this divide can quietly reshape the way you experience intimacy, leaving you feeling frustrated, disconnected, or even stuck. But understanding this gap and its effects on your body is the first step toward closing it. Let's explore what's happening, why it matters, and how it's affecting men just like you. Picture this when you're alone, engaging with pornography. You're in complete control. You choose the scene, the pace, the intensity. Everything is tailored to you, right down to the moment. It's predictable, instant, and designed to deliver a powerful jolt of pleasure. Now compare that to intimacy with a partner. Real sex is wonderfully unpredictable, full of emotional nuances, the way your partner moves, the look in their eyes, the shared vulnerability that makes those moments so meaningful. That difference is what we call the physical stimulus gap. With masturbation, you're the director of a one-person show, but with a partner, you're part of a duet, responding to each other's rhythms and emotions. For men who've leaned heavily on solo habits, especially with pornography, that shift can feel jarring. Your brain, used to the intense, controlled stimulation of porn, might struggle to respond to the subtler, less predictable cues of real intimacy. It's not that your partner isn't enough, it's that your brain has been trained to expect something different. Then there's the psychological gap, which runs even deeper. Pornography is built on fantasy, perfectly scripted scenarios that exist only on a screen. It's a world where emotions don't complicate things, where vulnerability isn't required. Real intimacy, on the other hand, asks you to show up fully, to be present, to share your feelings, to let yourself be seen. That takes courage, especially as we age and grapple with doubts about our bodies or our worth. When you're used to the fantasy-driven world of porn, the emotional richness of real connection can feel overwhelming or even underwhelming at first. I think of David, the Chicago accountant we talked about earlier. He found himself frustrated when intimacy with his wife, Karen, didn't match the intensity of his solo habits. The scenes he watched online were fast-paced and exaggerated, but real moments with Karen were slower, more tender. That mismatch created a distance between them, not because he loved her less, but because his mind was chasing a fantasy that real life couldn't match. This stimulus gap can lead to real challenges in the bedroom, and they're more common than you might think. Let's talk about 3 disorders that often show up for men who've fallen into this pattern. First, there's erectile dysfunction, or ED. A 2016 study from UCLA found that over-reliance on pornography's intense stimuli can desensitize your brain to natural arousal cues. When your brain is wired to respond only to the heightened visuals of porn, the gentle touch or emotional connection with a partner might not trigger the same response. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a room full of shouting you're still capable, but the signal gets lost. Second, there's delayed ejaculation, where orgasm with a partner becomes difficult or even impossible. This happens because your brain gets conditioned to a very specific kind of stimulation, maybe a certain grip, rhythm, or visual cue from porn. When those exact conditions aren't present, your body struggles to respond. Finally, there's loss of libido, where chronic porn use reduces your interest in real sex altogether. Your brain starts prioritizing the instant gratification of a screen over the deeper, more complex reward of human connection. It's not that you've lost your desire, it's that your brain has been rewired to chase the wrong kind. Let me tell you about Paul, a 60-year-old retired mechanic from Florida. Paul was the kind of guy who could fix anything: cars, appliances, you name it. But when it came to his marriage, he felt helpless. After years of turning to pornography to cope with the stress of long workdays, Paul noticed he was struggling with ED. He'd try to be intimate with his wife, Susan, but his body wouldn't cooperate, leaving him embarrassed and her feeling rejected. At first, Paul thought it was just age catching up with him, but when he opened up to his doctor, he learned that his nightly porn habit was part of the problem. His brain had become so accustomed to the intense, predictable stimulation of adult sites that Susan's touch, warm and loving as it was, felt like it wasn't enough. Paul decided to make a change. He cut back on pornography and started focusing on rebuilding intimacy with Susan, starting with simple, non-sexual touch, holding hands, sharing a hug, sitting close on the couch. Over time, those small moments helped his brain rediscover the joy of real connection. Today, Paul and Susan are closer than they've been in years, not because he fixed himself, but because he gave his body and mind a chance to reconnect. Does intimacy with your partner ever feel like it's not enough compared to your private moments? If that rings true, you're not alone, and there's no shame in it. It's just your brain doing what it's wired to do, following the path it knows best. The good news is, you can guide it back toward the connection you're craving. Paul's story shows us that these challenges aren't a life sentence. They're a sign that your brain is adaptable, ready to learn new patterns with the right approach. You're not stuck, and you don't have to navigate this alone. Now that we see how these habits rewire your brain and create this stimulus gap, let's talk about the emotional cage they can build, the ways they can trap you in a cycle that's hard to escape. Masturbation can be a natural part of life, a moment of release that feels good and leaves you refreshed. But what happens when it stops being a choice you make and starts feeling like something you can't escape? For many men over 50, this shift can sneak up quietly, turning a private habit into something that weighs on your mind and heart. As a doctor who's spent decades helping men find their way through these challenges, I've seen how this line between healthy and compulsive behavior can blur, especially when life feels heavy. It's not about shame or judgment, it's about understanding when a habit is serving you and when it's starting to hold you back. Let's dive into what makes masturbation healthy or compulsive, bust some myths that might be clouding your perspective, and explore how to take back control. When we talk about healthy masturbation, we're talking about something that fits naturally into your life. It's an occasional act, something you choose consciously, maybe to relieve stress or simply enjoy a moment of self-connection. When it's healthy, it leaves you feeling relaxed, maybe even a little lighter, without any lingering guilt or unease. It's a small part of a balanced life, alongside time with loved ones, work, hobbies, or just enjoying a good night's sleep. Compulsive masturbation, on the other hand, feels different. It's when the habit starts to take over, pulling you away from the things that matter most. Maybe you find yourself sneaking away to watch pornography instead of spending time with your partner. Maybe it's cutting into your work, your sleep, or your peace of mind. And most tellingly, it's when you feel worse afterward, guilty, ashamed, or like you're hiding something. If that sounds familiar, here's a simple way to check in with yourself. Ask, do I feel in control of this habit? Does it interfere with my day or my relationships? Do I feel worse after, like I've lost something instead of gained it? Those questions can help you see where you stand. Let me tell you about Tom, a 67-year-old widower from Oregon. Tom was a retired park ranger, a man who loved the outdoors and spent his career guiding families through the forests he knew like the back of his hand. After his wife of 40 years passed away, Tom's world grew quieter. The house felt empty, and the nights were long. To cope with the loneliness, he started turning to pornography and masturbation, thinking it would fill the void. At first, it felt like a way to escape the grief, a brief distraction from the pain of loss. But over time, Tom noticed he was spending more and more hours online, chasing a fleeting sense of relief that never lasted. Each time, he felt emptier, like he was betraying the memory of his wife or losing a piece of himself. He started to dread those late-night moments, yet he couldn't seem to stop. It wasn't until Tom opened up to a therapist that he realized his habit wasn't about pleasure, it was a way to numb the grief he hadn't fully faced. With help, he started addressing his loss, finding new ways to connect with friends and rediscover his love for the outdoors. For Tom, breaking free meant seeing his habit for what it was, a coping mechanism that had become a cage. There are a couple of myths floating around that can make it harder to see this clearly. So let's set the record straight. You might have heard that masturbation reduces your risk of prostate cancer. It's a claim that got a lot of attention from a 2016 Harvard study, which suggested a link between frequent ejaculation and a lower risk of prostate cancer. But here's the thing: that study isn't the full story. It showed a correlation, not a cause, and factors like a healthy diet, regular exercise, and routine checkups are just as important, if not more so. Relying on masturbation as a health strategy is like thinking one vitamin can replace a balanced meal. It's only part of the picture. Another myth is that masturbation keeps your libido high, like a spark that never fades, while it can be a healthy part of staying connected to your body. Overuse, especially with pornography, can actually do the opposite. When your brain gets hooked on the intense, artificial stimulation of porn, it can start to tune out the subtler joys of real intimacy, leaving you less interested in the connection you share with a partner. It's not about boosting desire, it's about what kind of desire you're feeding. What makes Tom's story so powerful is that it shows how a habit can shift from something harmless to something that holds you back, not because of the act itself, but because of what it's trying to cover up. For many men, compulsive masturbation isn't really about sex, it's about filling a void, whether it's loneliness, stress, or a sense of lost purpose. And when it's paired with pornography, it can become a cycle that's hard to break, not because you're weak, but because your brain is doing what it's designed to do, seeking relief in the easiest way it knows. The good news is, you have the power to shift that cycle. You don't have to stay trapped, and you don't have to figure it out alone. Tom's journey shows us that understanding the difference between healthy and compulsive habits is the first step toward freedom. Have you ever wondered if your habits are helping you or holding you back? Maybe you've felt that tug of guilt or noticed that what used to feel good now leaves you a little hollow. If that resonates, you're not alone, and there's no shame in it. It's just a sign that it's time to check in with yourself, to ask what your habits are really serving. Compulsive habits don't just affect your body, they can trap your heart, pulling you away from the connections that make life rich. Let's explore how these patterns create an emotional spiral and what it means for you and the people you love. Why does a moment of relief sometimes leave you feeling more alone than ever? It's a strange paradox, reaching for something to ease the stress or loneliness, only to find yourself sinking deeper into a sense of disconnection. For many men over 50, this is what happens when masturbation, especially when paired with pornography, becomes more than a passing habit. It's not just about the act itself, it's about what it's hiding, what it's trying to fix. As a doctor who's spent decades guiding men through these quiet struggles, I've seen how this cycle can trap not just your body, but your heart, pulling you away from the people and moments that matter most. Let's explore how this emotional spiral takes hold, how it affects your relationships, and why it's so much more than just a private habit. Imagine you've had a tough day, maybe work was draining, or you're wrestling with worries about the future. You turn to your phone or computer, seeking a quick escape, a way to let go of the tension. The rush of pornography offers a fleeting sense of relief, a moment where the world's weight lifts. But when it's over, that relief fades fast, and in its place comes a wave of guilt, shame, or even emptiness. You might tell yourself it's no big deal, but the next time stress hits, you're back in the same place, Repeating the cycle: stress, pornography, temporary relief, guilt, and then more stress. It's like a treadmill you can't step off. A 2020 study in Psychology of Addictive Behaviors found that compulsive pornography use is linked to higher levels of anxiety and strain in relationships. This isn't just about feeling bad in the moment, it's about how those moments add up, deepening a sense of isolation that can make it harder to connect with the world around you. For some men, this cycle leads to hiding. Maybe sneaking off to the bathroom late at night, choosing the glow of a screen over the warmth of sharing a bed with a partner. This spiral often masks something deeper, something that goes beyond the physical. For many men, turning to pornography and masturbation isn't really about sex, it's about filling a void. Maybe it's the loneliness that comes with an empty nest, or the loss of purpose after retiring from a job that defined you for decades. Maybe it's the ache of feeling disconnected from a partner, not because the love is gone, but because life's pressures have built a wall between you. I think of Tom, the widower from Oregon we talked about earlier, after losing his wife. His late-night habits weren't about chasing pleasure, they were about avoiding the pain of her absence. Each time he turned to pornography, it was a way to numb the grief, to push away the quiet of an empty house. But instead of soothing him, it left him feeling more alone, like he was drifting further from the life he wanted to reclaim. That's the trap of this cycle. It promises comfort, but delivers emptiness, covering up the real issues that need attention. The impact of this spiral doesn't stop with you. It ripples out to the people you love, especially your partner. When masturbation becomes a substitute for intimacy, it can leave a partner feeling rejected, inadequate, or confused. They might wonder, what's wrong with me? Why isn't he interested? It's not that you don't care, it's that the habit has created a barrier, one that's hard to see until it's already done damage. Let me tell you about Linda, the wife of Mark, our retired firefighter from Ohio. For years, Mark and Linda had a strong marriage, built on laughter and shared dreams. But as Mark's stress grew and he turned to his phone for relief, Linda started to notice a change. He'd stay up late, claiming he was just checking emails, but she could feel the distance growing. One night, she found him in the guest room, lost in his screen, and it broke her heart not because of the act itself, but because it felt like he was choosing something else over her. Linda felt invisible, like she wasn't enough. It wasn't until Mark opened up about his struggles, about the anxiety and shame he was carrying, that they started to rebuild. They began with small steps, talking openly, holding hands, sharing quiet moments, and those conversations helped them find their way back to each other. This emotional spiral can feel like a cage, locking you in a cycle of temporary relief and lasting disconnection. It's not about the act of masturbation itself when it's healthy. It can be a normal part of life. But when it's driven by a need to escape, it can deepen the very feelings you're trying to avoid: loneliness, stress, or a sense of being unmoored. The truth is, you're not alone in this. So many men over 50 find themselves caught in this loop. Not because they're broken, but because life's challenges can push us toward habits that seem easier in the moment. The good news is, this cycle doesn't have to define you. Just like Linda and Mark found their way back through open communication, you can take steps to break free and rediscover the connection you're craving. Have you ever felt caught in a cycle of guilt or disconnection, where a moment of relief leaves you feeling more alone? If that hits home, know that it's okay, you're not the only one, and there's a way out. These feelings are a signal, a nudge to look deeper and find what's really going on. Breaking free starts with resetting your body and mind, with small, intentional steps that can lead to big changes. Let's talk about practical solutions. Ways to move beyond this cycle and rebuild the vitality and connection you deserve. Your body isn't broken, it's just waiting for you to give it the right tools to heal. After 50, it's easy to feel like the changes in your body are a one-way street, that the vitality you once had is out of reach. But as a doctor who spent nearly half a century helping men rediscover their strength, I can tell you that's not true. Your body is still capable of remarkable things, it just needs a little guidance to get back on track. The habits we've talked about, like compulsive pornography use, can take a toll, but they don't have to define you. There are simple, practical steps you can start today to reset your physical health, boost your confidence, and pave the way for deeper connection. Let's explore some powerful tools that can help your body feel alive again. And I'll share a story of a man who found his way back without relying on pills or quick fixes. One of the most effective tools you can use is something called Kegel exercises. These are simple movements that strengthen your pelvic floor muscles, specifically the pubococcygeus muscle, which plays a big role in sexual health. Think of these muscles as the foundation that supports blood flow to the penis and helps with ejaculation control. When they're strong, they can make a noticeable difference in how your body responds during intimacy. Here's how to do them. Imagine you're stopping the flow of urine midstream. That's the muscle you're targeting. Squeeze it. Hold for 5 seconds, then release. Do this 10 to 15 times, 3 times a day. It's quick, it's private, and you can do it anywhere sitting at your desk, watching TV, or even waiting at a stoplight. A 2019 study in urology found that Kegels improved erectile function for 60% of men over 50. That's a powerful statistic, but what it really means is this: with just a few minutes a day, you can help your body regain the strength it needs to feel confident and capable. Another tool that might surprise you is the vacuum erection device, or VD. It sounds technical, but it's a non-invasive way to boost blood flow to the penis and restore the elasticity of the tissues that support erections. It's like giving your body a gentle workout to wake it up. You use the device for 10 to 15 minutes a day, and it's as simple as placing a cylinder over the penis and letting it do the work of drawing blood into the tissues. Always talk to your doctor first to make sure you're using an FDA-approved model. But many men find it a game changer. It's not just about improving performance, it's about helping your body remember what it's capable of. I've seen men light up when they realize they can take control of their health without relying on medications or invasive treatments. Let me tell you about Mike, a 64-year-old farmer from Iowa. Mike was a man of the land, up before dawn every day, tending to his crops with a quiet pride. But as he got older, he started noticing his body wasn't responding the way it used to. Intimacy with his wife, Ellen, became a source of frustration instead of joy. Mike felt embarrassed, like he was letting her down, and he worried that pills were his only option. Then his doctor suggested Kegels and a VD. At first, Mike was skeptical. Could something so simple really make a difference? But he committed to the routine Kegels 3 times a day and 10 minutes with the VED each morning. Within a few weeks, he noticed a change not just in his body, but in his confidence. He wasn't relying on a prescription. He was taking charge of his health. For Mike, it wasn't about becoming 30 again. It was about feeling like himself, strong and connected, ready to share those moments with Ellen again. Beyond these targeted tools, there are everyday habits that can give your body a boost. Stress is a big player in sexual health, and something as simple as slow breathing can make a difference. Try this before bed. Take 5 deep breaths, inhaling for 4 seconds and exhaling for 6. It's like hitting a reset button for your nervous system, calming your mind and lowering stress hormones that can dampen your vitality. Pair that with light exercise, like a 30-minute walk or some gentle yoga. These activities get your blood flowing, which is crucial for sexual health, and they lift your mood in ways that ripple through your whole life. And here's one more idea that might sound a bit bold: cold showers. Just 1 to 2 minutes a day can stimulate testosterone production and reduce inflammation, giving your body a natural energy boost. It's not about turning your life upside down. It's about small, intentional changes that add up. These steps, Kegels, VED, and simple lifestyle boosters are like giving your body a gentle nudge, reminding it of its own strength. They're not magic, and they don't promise overnight miracles, but they work because they meet your body where it is. Mike's story is proof that you don't need to feel broken or rely on quick fixes. With a little effort, you can rebuild the foundation for a healthier, more confident you. And the best part: these tools are within your reach, ready to help you take that first step, ready to try a simple exercise that takes just 5 minutes a day. Maybe it's Kegels while you're sipping your morning coffee, or a short walk to clear your head. These small actions can lead to big changes, not just in your body, but in how you feel about yourself. Healing your body is just the start. Real change happens when you reconnect with your partner, when you bring that renewed energy into the moments you share. Let's talk about how to rebuild that intimacy. Step by gentle step. What if the key to great sex isn't about chasing performance, but about being truly present with your partner heart, mind, and soul? So often, we think intimacy is about getting the mechanics right. But after 50, it's the emotional connection that lights the spark. As a doctor who spent decades helping couples rediscover that closeness, I've seen how small intentional steps can rebuild bridges that feel broken. The habits we've explored can pull you away from your partner, but there's a way to come back together, not by forcing things, but by nurturing the kind of bond that makes you both feel seen and valued. Let's talk about 5 gentle practices to restore that closeness and how caring for your body can support this journey, all grounded in real stories of couples who've found their way back. The first step to rebuilding intimacy is emotional communication. Sharing one honest feeling each day. It doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can be as simple as saying, "I'm worried about getting older, but I want us to stay close." This isn't about fixing everything in one conversation. It's about opening the door to vulnerability. When you share what's on your heart, even in a small way, it invites your partner to do the same, creating a safe space where you both feel heard. I've seen couples transform just by starting with this one practice, because it reminds you that you're in this together. It's like planting a seed that grows with time, helping you rediscover the person you fell in love with. Next, there's gentle touch. Something as simple as holding hands or sharing a 30-second hug each day. This isn't about sex. It's about rebuilding physical comfort, the kind that says, "I'm here, and I care." Think about how a warm hug can melt away tension, how holding hands while walking can make you feel connected without saying a word. These small moments of touch release oxytocin, the hormone that fosters bonding, and they help your body and mind remember what it feels like to be close. For couples who've drifted apart, This can be a soft, safe way to start closing the gap. Rebuilding trust one touch at a time. Another powerful practice is offering a non-sexual massage, a 5-minute shoulder or foot rub for your partner. This is about giving without expecting anything in return. A gesture that says, "I want you to feel cared for." It's amazing how much a simple massage can do to rebuild trust and ease the tension that builds up in relationships. You don't need to be a professional, just use a little lotion. Move slowly, and focus on making your partner feel relaxed. This act of care can shift the dynamic, turning moments of distance into opportunities for connection. It's a reminder that intimacy isn't just about the bedroom, it's about showing up for each other in small, meaningful ways. Then there's the idea of dating again. It might sound old-fashioned, but planning a weekly activity like a coffee date, a walk in the park, or even cooking a meal together and reignite the joy you used to share. This isn't about grand gestures. It's about rediscovering what makes you laugh, what makes you feel alive together. Maybe it's sitting at your favorite diner, reminiscing about the early days, or strolling through a farmer's market, picking out something new to try. These moments help you see your partner with fresh eyes, reminding you of the spark that brought you together. It's like hitting reset on your relationship, one shared experience at a time. Finally, try light physical activity together, like a 15-minute walk or a gentle stretching session. Moving your bodies side by side, whether it's a stroll around the neighborhood or a simple yoga routine, does more than just boost your health. It creates a shared rhythm, a way to feel connected without the pressure of performance. Physical activity increases blood flow and releases endorphins, which lift your mood and make you feel more open to closeness. Plus, it's a chance to talk, laugh, or just enjoy each other's company in a low-stakes way. Couples who start moving together often find it strengthens not just their bodies, but their bond. Caring for your pelvic health can also support these efforts. Pelvic floor therapy, available at many clinics across the UC, is a professional approach to strengthening the muscles that support sexual function and bladder control. It's like physical therapy for the parts of your body that play a quiet but crucial role in intimacy. I think of Mike, the farmer from Iowa, and his wife, Ellen. They decided to try a couples yoga class, not expecting much more than a bit of exercise. But those sessions, filled with gentle stretches and shared laughter, helped them feel closer physically and emotionally. The movement strengthened Mike's pelvic floor. But more than that, they gave him and Ellen a new way to connect, a shared space where they could be present together. Let me tell you about Sarah, the wife of Mark, our retired firefighter from Ohio. At 59, Sarah felt a growing distance in their marriage. Mark's late-night habits had left her feeling like she was losing him, not to another person, but to a screen. She missed the man who used to hold her hand during movie nights, who'd make her laugh with his goofy impressions. One evening, Sarah suggested they start small, just holding hands while watching their favorite show. It felt awkward at first, but that simple touch opened the door to more. They began sharing a quick hug each morning, then tried a weekly walk in the park near their home. Slowly, those moments rebuilt their bond, reminding them both of the love that had always been there, waiting to be rediscovered. For Sarah and Mark, it wasn't about jumping back into passion, it was about finding each other again, one gentle step at a time. These practices, emotional communication, gentle touch, non-sexual massage, dating again, and moving together aren't about fixing everything overnight. They're about showing up, being present, and creating space for connection to grow. They're simple, accessible, and powerful because they meet you and your partner where you are. Mike and Ellen's yoga classes. Sarah and Mark's hand-holding moments. These stories show us that rebuilding intimacy is about small acts of care that add up to something profound. Which of these steps feels easiest for you to try with your partner? Maybe it's holding hands during a quiet moment or suggesting a walk together this weekend. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what feels possible for you. These practices are the building blocks of closeness, and they're within your reach right now. Let's bring it all together with Mark's transformation and a plan for your next steps, so you can start this journey today. Let's bring this journey full circle with a story of hope, a plan for your next steps, and a reminder that you have everything you need to reclaim the vitality and connection you deserve. As a doctor who's walked alongside thousands of men and women through these challenges, I've seen how small, intentional changes can transform lives not by turning back the clock, but by helping you embrace the life you're living right now. You've learned about the emotional weight of loneliness, how habits like excessive pornography can rewire your brain, and the practical tools to reset your body and rebuild intimacy. Now, let's tie it all together with a story of transformation and a clear path forward, so you can start today with confidence and hope. Remember Mark, the retired firefighter from Ohio. He thought his spark was gone forever, that the distance between him and his wife, Linda, was just what aging looked like. The late nights spent with his phone, chasing fleeting relief, left him feeling guilty and disconnected, like he was failing the woman he loved. But Mark didn't give up. He took a brave step and sought therapy, where he learned to face the stress and anxiety that were driving his habits. He cut back on pornography, not by sheer willpower, but by replacing those moments with something better small, meaningful connections with Linda. They started with the 5 intimacy practices we talked about: sharing honest feelings, holding hands, offering gentle massages, going on simple dates, and walking together. It wasn't about jumping back into passion overnight. It was about showing up, being present, and rediscovering each other. Today, Mark and Linda laugh together over morning coffee, hold hands on evening walks, and feel closer than they have in years. Mark didn't need pills or miracles. He found his confidence by choosing presence over escape, and it changed everything. Here's the truth: you're not broken. Your body and brain may have been wired in the wrong direction by habits that promised comfort but delivered distance. But with small, intentional steps, you can rewire them for vitality and connection. You don't need to be 30 again to feel alive. You just need to start where you are, right now. The tools we've explored are simple and within your reach. Kegel exercises can strengthen your body in just a few minutes a day, helping you feel more capable and confident. A vacuum erection device, used under a doctor's guidance, can wake up your body's natural abilities. Slow breathing, daily walks, or even a quick cold shower can lift your energy and mood. And those 5 intimacy practices: sharing a feeling, holding hands, offering a massage, dating again. Moving together can rebuild the emotional bond that makes intimacy so meaningful. These aren't big, daunting changes. They're gentle steps that meet you where you are, inviting you to reconnect with yourself and the people you love. So, what can you do today? First, consider talking to a doctor or therapist about what you're experiencing. A urologist can help with physical concerns like erectile dysfunction, while a counselor can guide you through emotional barriers, like the anxiety or shame that might be holding you back. It's not about admitting defeat, it's about taking charge of your health. Second, pick one intimacy practice to try this week. Maybe it's offering your partner a 5-minute shoulder massage or suggesting a walk together after dinner. These small acts can spark something new. And third, start a simple physical habit, like Kegels while you're reading the morning news or a 30-minute walk to clear your mind. These steps are like planting seeds, small now, but they grow into something lasting. I'd love to hear from you. What's one step you'll take today to reconnect with yourself or your partner? Maybe it's a conversation you've been putting off or a moment of closeness you want to try. Share it in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else. And if you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more conversations about hormones, stress, and intimacy. Click the bell so you don't miss our next one. We're in this together, exploring ways to live with vitality and connection, no matter your age. Stay vibrant, stay connected, and I'll see you in the next video. You've got this one small step at a time.